Blessings come to you in many forms. You know, I once lost everything in a hurricane, and it was a blessing. It was one of the scariest times of my life, but it was a blessing because through that, not only did I survive, but it strengthened my confidence in self, in the ability to not die under duress. What I mean is that would be the reptilian brain. When you are in danger or when you live in constant trauma, you live in the reptilian brain, which is then fight, flight, or freeze, or fawn. See, fight because you think you're going to die, so that might be the route that you take. Flight because you're scared you don't want to die, so you run and hide. Freeze is like a deer in headlights, waiting to be plucked off in hunting season. There is a hunting season. And then there's fawn. To fawn is to appease your abuser so that they don't hurt you, harm you, kill you, do depraved things to you, whatever. You try to appease them. Not Stockholm's, not like believing it, but trying to stay alive, so you got to play along with their stuff. Don't act in those cycles. You got to break those cycles. So when this hurricane happened and it shook my life up like a motherfucker, and it sent me back on another trip, a journey from Florida back across to California after making some stops and living in Arizona and other stuff. We were all over the place because after the hurricane hit, like my topics here, after the hurricane hit, we went to Arizona and we stayed with people. I'm so thankful that took us in. During that time, I was so depressed, I couldn't even talk to anybody. I pretty much isolated myself in a room, and I was having health issues very badly at the time, so I was really struggling. But they stayed with me. I was acting a fool sometimes in that I would be so depressed that they would want to go out and I would just want to lay in bed and die. I hated life. I didn't want to exist anymore. This was a blessing in disguise. See, because what God was doing was He was preparing me for a time such as now. I was made for this time. See, He designed me in a way that I'm a soldier for the Lord, for Christ, right? You know, God has an invisible army, right? So, being that I am going through our life experiences, you know, like the Bible, basic instructions before leaving earth. See, I'm dyslexic, so I'll say it wrong. I mean it right, but I can't get the words out. Oh, baby Moses, the stutter. That's all right. So, don't allow yourself to look at a negative situation as something that was meant to destroy your life. No, it was something meant to destroy your current life cycle. You see, you may have been in a cycle, and inside your own body, you were creating a whole hurricane of problems, which may have manifested out to where you actually lived, where there was a hurricane that destroyed the house. You can't build your home on a solid foundation and, you know, have it not be rocked. There are going to be attempts to break the foundation, to break into your mind, to take your free dome and take it over with their outside agendas. Now, sometimes you need things to shake your life up, and that's what the hurricane did. It shook my life up to the point where I couldn't sit on my ass anymore. It was die or move or lose everything. You know, it was extreme. I'm giving an extreme example. We wouldn't have died. That was extreme. But, you know, the town flooded. It was on the news and stuff. But it was something that got me off my ass. I had become complacent and a sitting duck like a target, targeting my own self with my own negative thoughts, beating my own self down, giving my own self doubt, to where after a while I started to believe it. I started to brainwash my own self that I wasn't capable. And that was a lie. It's a lie from the pit of hell. That's now I feel silly. It's embarrassing to see, you know, like my deliverance process. It's embarrassing with some of the things that I used to believe and when I didn't know better. But I could look back at my own self with compassion at some of the dumb stuff I have done over my life. I could have compassion because I could now understand that I was temporarily living in a psychosis, in a world that was make-believe by our television, by the people around us, not our true reality, but the reality and the perception that they wanted us to see. See, we each have our own perception, which makes up our own reality. We could walk the exact same path, like me and this dog here. We could walk the same path, do the exact same thing, but when we relay to other people our story and what we recall, they're not going to be exactly the same. Each of us is unique. You might look at yourself sometimes and say, I'm boring, I'm dull, I don't have any talent, I don't even have a job. There is nothing I'm contributing to this world. Sometimes you might feel like that. But let me tell you, if you're still here, man, you got purpose. If you're even homeless and living on the street, I bet you're helping a ton of people. Because people who are down know what it's like to be down. So they like to try to help others up because nobody should feel the type of pain they feel, and they don't want that. So oftentimes the people at the bottom struggling the most will actually help you the most. Who do you think in a situation is going to come to your rescue quicker? A homeless person on the street, or maybe versus a person in a fancy car with a suit on and they see a person in danger? What's going to happen? Do you have that homeless person? Do you think they're going to quickly help? Or do you think the person in the suit is going to quickly help? Chances are the person in the suit is going to look at it, not want to get their hands or their suit dirty or take the time because maybe they got to be at work and there's other obligations and deadlines they got to meet. So I've tied myself to these obligations, so I can't stop what I'm doing now to help this person in need, so I'm just going to leave them behind. Versus the person who might be on the street who's like, oh shit, let me help you. Let me show you how to manage in this world because I don't want you to go through what I've gone through. See, you uplift people. See, I've been on both sides. I've had a lot of money and I've been homeless. So I could relate to both sides. Now, I shouldn't be able to relate to such extremes. But unfortunately, because mentally I had a bit of a psychopathy in that I depressed my own self because of events that had happened to me, and I let the world control me for a while versus me controlling me. I was on autopilot like a plane. You know, it's like your autonomic system's going, you're alive, you're technically moving, but your soul isn't really in it. You're just going through the motions. When you go through that type of a depression, you feel like you're alone and like nobody understands, there's no hope, and there's nothing you could do. That's because people oftentimes can't see outside of the box. They don't know that there's more to life than what they see around them. There's a humongous world out there, lots of people that are caring. It's just a matter of getting away from the people in your current circle and having belief that something better is out there and looking for it a bit. You know, if you take one step forward, God will take two, right? I actually think he takes more than that, but that's the saying. So, what is the point of today's video? I don't know. Honesty, transparency. Once someone confused me with a magician who does mirror magic work. I don't do that, but I do show reflections. See, my initials, my maiden name, are JC. What I do like to do is show people reflections. But since I'm an ambassador for the good guy, and you're judging me as the bad guy, then I kind of got to wonder what side you're on. But I'm not going to judge you because I'm working on the plank in my own eye. I'm trying to get my own self right before judging someone else. You know what I need to work on really, really bad. I think this is my biggest problem is I get very, when I see people doing, how do I word it? I speak too fast. Sometimes I'll see people in a situation that I know isn't good, or and I want to speak out and say something like, don't do that, or I told you so, or blah, blah, blah. But you don't want to do that at the same time, because you don't want to try to control somebody's life. But sometimes I pop off at the mouth. I'll get very passive aggressive when I hear people talking BS, and then I'm trying to be kind and learn and progress and not join in. But sometimes when I hear people talking BS and they're really, really convincing at it, I speak out, and I speak out quickly, and I'm like, nope, that ain't right, that's a lie. Nope, I'll probably throw a scripture behind it and something else, but it gets me in trouble a lot because I speak too fast, and I really need to work on that. Because sometimes, because of the PTSD, which I'm not using as an excuse, I'm using it as a point of reference so I could recognize my problem and fix it. I don't plan to continue living with PTSD, but I know that's what I'm going through the deliverance of right now. It's a process, so that's okay. This is called recognition, mirror work, looking into oneself. There's also Operation Looking Glass, Alice in Wonderland programming through the looking glass, the Stargate. I know some of you know what I'm talking about, and they're like, oh shit. See, just because I have the keys to heaven and hell doesn't mean I have to use them. God didn't tell me that. What he told me was the war is already won. So while I'm watching the battle in the stars, because I could line up these stars and line up the charts and see where we're at in time. You could take all the apocryphas and the Kebra-Nagast and the Bible and everything. I could just name them all. You could just line it all up. And if it lines up with real time, then it is. See, a lot of us don't want to wake up to today's reality. I don't. I'm scared. But you got to do it. Judge your own self. It's better you judge you than a court of law judge you or God judge you. And because you do not want to get to heaven and have God say that you're a worker of iniquity and to get away from him. He never knew you. Oh, no. I can't risk that. I can't risk that. You can't risk that either. Save your soul. Save it. Save it. So someone had accused me of mirror magic, which was sad to me because I had thought these people were good. See, now, oftentimes we expect enemies to come at us in forms that we'll somehow know this is the bad guy, here they come. No, it doesn't work like that. Oftentimes, enemies or people who cause you, see, perfect timing, who cause you strife, it's really not a personal thing. It's just where they're at in their life. Look, see, point proven. Point proven. But too funny. See what's my point when you're on track. And sometimes you got to realize where you're at in your own life. Hold yourself accountable and judge yourself, because you don't want to be judged by God and have him say something like, hey, I gave you this opportunity. I called you out of Egypt. I said, hey. And it was, I know you heard me. And I'm like, hey, God, that's you. And God says, come out, get out of Babylon. Psst, 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 come on. You remember that let my people go? Remember freedom? When you hear God call you, because he will call everybody at some point in time. Because one thing we all have in common is eventually we're going to die. You know, that's like with birthdays and people celebrate birthdays. Jesus never told us to celebrate birthdays. It's a ritual. It's just 1 year closer to your death. So why? Why celebrate that? You're supposed to be celebrating eternal life. But that's a different subject. I am rambling. I don't know who even watches these videos, and if they're too long, too short, if you just don't give two shits, I don't know. But this is a process for me. I'm doing this for me as a learning experience. This is me holding me accountable for how I behave. This is me probably looking back at this video maybe a week, a month, a year from now and saying, okay, that's where I was at that point. Now where am I? I better have done improvement. My lower self speaking to my higher self, you know, growth. I love you guys.